guys, it is Christie Blushy here with Cheer Factor All-Stars. Believe it or not, we are getting ready for the 2025-2026 evaluation season. It's going to be a real special year. It's our 20th anniversary. We've got a lot of plans in store. We've opened up early bird evaluations. We already sent out our first round of surveys, just talking about comp schedules and travel and all that. This year, we are going to be doing something different where we are going to be putting out expectations of our X teams. And each week leading up to evaluations, I'm going to release a requirement sheet for our X teams: X Factor, Senior X, Junior X, Youth X, and Mini X, and what the expectations are going to be to make those teams if that is your child's goal. We wanted to do this to give kids plenty of time to kind of gear up, get ready, choose the right pre-evaluation clinics for them, and for them to have real expectations about what they want or what's going to be required of them, and if they might fit the role that we're looking for these teams. So the first one we're going to go over is X Factor. That is our Worlds team. We intend on competing in the limited extra small division again. We are planning to compete either 11 or 16 members. That number is going to really determine on evaluations, the athletes, what we can do for stunting, what we can do for tumbling. You know, our preference would be to 16, but we also are more than willing to do 11. We did 11 this season and we found we were very successful. So with that, I am going to go over some of the skill requirements. I decided to release videos with these so I can explain a little bit, so you as parents and you as athletes have an understanding of what we're looking for and where there are a little bit of gray areas, because with every team, nothing is ever cut and dry, and there's always exceptions to everything. But I wanted to go over what these kids should be working for, pushing towards, if making X Factor is on their goal list. First things first, skill requirements as far as tumbling. I'm going to start with the hard one and work our way down. We use the word in these skill requirement forms: preferred, mandatory, bonus. Okay, so when we say mandatory, we are saying mandatory, that's what we're looking for. If an athlete doesn't have those skills, I'm going to kind of talk about that once we get towards the end of that sheet, but if the athlete doesn't have those skills, there has to be very strong exceptions. So if you don't have these skills, it doesn't necessarily mean you won't make a team, but if others do have them, they're going to get preference over you unless there is a big exception of that. So first things first, standing tumbling for X Factor, our Worlds team. Mandatory skill is going to be a 2 to full. We are going to ask all athletes to perform that at evaluations. The 2 to full should be performed and landed on the spring floor. Athletes that can perform it on the rod, we will look at those, but for the most part, we are looking for athletes that can do a standing 2 to full. Most of the athletes that are on the team now are able to perform that. Most of the athletes that are aging in and I know have the goals of making X Factor also can perform those skills, or they're very close. So if you know that you want to have a shot at making this team, a big skill that you need to be working on is your 2 to full. Bonus skills that we are looking for as well that will help increase your value as far as a tumbler on the team is a 1 to full. All right, that is an elite level appropriate skill, a standing full, or a standing pass to a double. All right, we do have a few athletes that have been landing those that are age eligible for the Worlds team, so those will be bonuses as well. All right, but the skill we are looking for everybody is a 2 to full, and that 1 to full, standing full, and pass to double will help your cause. Running tumbling, mandatory. Mandatory is the level appropriate pass, and we are going a little basic right now. That is the round of handspring full. Every athlete on X Factor should be able to perform a round off back handspring full on the spring floor. Bonus skills for that really is going to be advanced level appropriate skills or elite level appropriate skills. The elite level appropriate skills that we're performing right now for most of the team is the round of handspring double, specialty to double, the Arabian through to full, and I believe some of the athletes can perform front handspring punch front through to fulls. So those are all elite level appropriate. Advanced level appropriate for the most part is the whip through to full and the punch front through to full. If you would categorize yourself as a tumbler, meaning your strengths are more tumbling than it is in stunting, maybe you're a smaller base or you're kind of that in between, you're a flyer in a base, having these skills are going to be very important in order to make this team. Having them and being able to perform them with drivers not being pulled off is going to be important. And as far as tumbling, that's what we are looking for. The next thing, we've never really done this before, but I think it's important that we do it this year because we are going to be looking at a lot of kids that are very talented that are trying out for this team. Stunting is going to come into play when we do callbacks. So when we do our regular evaluations, and there's going to be a video about this too, All right, we are going to be looking at everything but stunting, and then athletes that kind of meet the requirements will then be called back to do a stunting session. X Factor athletes, they are going to be required to be able to do certain things, all right? Whether they're the base or they're the back or they're the flyer. Again, there are sometimes exceptions. An athlete may make the team because they have elite level appropriate standing and elite level appropriate running, tumbling, but may not be able to base some of these things because they're smaller. And that will be taken into consideration. But for the most part, athletes want to aspire to be able to do these things. So mandatory stunts that we would like to see that we're going to do at evaluation. They must base, back, or fly in a high to high, stretch to stretch. That's kind of the easier of the skills. Then they must be able to base, back, or fly a full up express up. That will be to a body position. Next will be a rewind to a prep. That is a new one. So if you have not trained rewinds, my advice would be to attend some stunt clinics or we're going to be offering some stunt open gyms, get with each other and work on them. So you're going to be required to either base, back, or fly these stunt skills. And then the bonus skill that we are asking for is kick double basket. Kick double basket is a skill that we need in the routine. If we have 11 athletes, we're going to need one of them. If we have 16, we're going to need 2. So that is a bonus skill. For the most part, if the bases know how to throw a basket, you can throw a kick double basket. So that's going to be a lot for flyers or athletes that might not end up flying on the team, but can perform that skill as well. Now we're going to get into a land that we have never done before. So I want to kind of preface this by saying I am serious about this and this is important. And this is why I am putting this out in advance so kids that might not be able to do this yet can work on it, because I do believe every athlete that aspires to be on X Factor could be able to get themselves to this point by evaluations. And it is something that I have noticed when we perform and we hit all these categories, we hit all our difficulty scores and all our tumbling and stunting. Now what? Well, what's left is, dance, performance, jumps. These categories are very important. And I think this year we are going to put a real accentuation on it, because I have found that is the difference between some of our teams at Cheer Factor that have great jumpers and great performers and some of our teams that don't. All of our teams max out their stunt and tumbling difficulties. So what makes them special are going to be these other categories, and I need X Factor to be able to hit these categories with flying colors. Athletes are going to be expected to do these things too, and I will say we are taking this seriously, so I want parents and athletes to take this seriously too. Jump and performance. It will be mandatory to show us a level toe touch. And we're going to have videos, we're working on them now, that will show you what a level toe touch is if you're confused, okay? But a level toe touch is the legs being level, parallel to the floor. Bonus is above level. Another bonus is above level with no drivers taken off. So if we were judging your jumps and we watched you do a toe touch and you were hyperextended and we couldn't see any drivers that we would take off, that's a bonus. Like, you're a jumper, you're a front row jumper, you're an athlete that we would like on our team. If you do not have a level toe touch, you will not make this team. You might think I'm crazy. I say this because I know every athlete that spends a little bit of time, if you're talented enough to be able to throw this tumbling, you can get your toe touch level. You just need to put your mind to it and take it seriously. So a level toe touch is going to be required to make the world's team. The next thing is double jumps, which is a bonus. Again, no drivers taken off and they're above level. The final thing, performance. We are going to be teaching a dance at evaluations. We're actually going to be posting it prior so you can learn that dance. What we are going to be looking for in the dance for an athlete that would be qualifying for X Factor is that you achieve above an 8 on both dance and showmanship at evaluation. So there will be a judge that will have you do their dance, and they will judge you just like the way the United Score Sheet judges the dance. They're going to look at your dance ability, your footwork, your arm placement, and then your showmanship. You should be able to score between an 8 and a 10 on dance. Now, for the most part, if I was to look at all season for all our Cheer Factor teams, for the most part, our teams would score an execution of dance between a 7 and a 10. A world's athlete should easily be able to score between an 8 and a 10. I'm not going to be looking at 7s. I want 8, 9, or 10s. So those are the requirements to make X Factor. Now, exceptions. There is always exceptions to these rules, but I would like everyone to be very attentive to what those exceptions are. I had a clinic about a month ago where we were stunting, and I defined what I find a stunter to be. A lot of times when people don't tumble, or people don't tumble as well, and they say I really want to make this team because I'm a great stunter. I appreciate that and I applaud that, and there is a place for you for that. But I want to be very clear, with 11 athletes, it's going to be very difficult. If you are not a superb stunter, stunter. And with 16, there's gonna be room for stunters, I would say. But again, you're gonna have to bring it in other categories as well. So I'm gonna go over what those exceptions might be. If you do not have the mandatory skills that is listed on this sheet and you still wanna be evaluated for X Factor and you feel as though you bring enough in stunting, I'm gonna explain how I define a stunter. I define a stunter that no matter what group you are put in, the stunt hits. You are the person that goes into the stunt, and at that point, that stunt's gonna hit. You usually take on the most difficult base or the smallest base. You're the one that takes on maybe the toughest flyer, the one that struggles the most, and you being in that stunt makes the stunt happen. Very few times is a flyer a stunter. Sometimes they are if a flyer is needed, but for the most part, we've got a lot of flyers being evaluated for this team that can do the tumbling skills. But if you're a back spot or you're a base and you want a spot, you have to be able to make your stunts hit. If I put you in a group at callbacks, it hits. No ifs, ands, or buts. With that, you also must be an above level jumper and you must be an outstanding 10+ performer. That is a performer that when you do the dance, the judge goes, wow, that's a front row girl. We do not have room for anything less than that if you want to be trying out for this team and you don't have the tumbling skills. So I want to be very clear with that because I think there's been some gray area of what it takes to make a team like this. And we did eliminate non-tumble from our regime, and that's why we've kind of amped up, and I'm going to do another video on Senior X of what that Senior X team is going to look like and what the requirements are going to be for that. For the Worlds team, for this season, there's definitely going to be some requirements, and we are definitely looking at putting out the best roster we possibly can, whether that's 11 or 16, and we are going to be looking for these skills. And there's going to be plenty of opportunity from now until evaluations for athletes to be able to work on these skills and get these skills. Even stunting, I actually have coaches that are going to be setting up open stunt times that they'll help, so that way you can learn the rewind if you haven't already, or you can, learn to base TikTok if you haven't already, if you're aging into being on a World eligible team. With that, again, we are excited. We are prepping for this evaluation season, and we want to give all these kids as big of a heads up as they can to prepare for what's going to be probably our most successful season to date. So good luck, get yourselves prepped, and we can't wait for evaluation season.